Hello, welcome to another episode of Conversations with Eminent Women, where we have conversations with women that are doing amazing things in their fields of work. And joining us today is Thato Ramaili. She's the CEO of the Properties Practitioners Regulatory Authority. Man, how I practice that, okay? It is the PPRA for short. And she joins us today, of course, to speak to us about her life, but how she got to such a big position, but also what does she do for relaxation. Can you imagine the business of being a CEO for the PPRA? And she joins us this afternoon. Hi, Thato. Good afternoon.
Hello, Tseho.
How are you?
I'm well, and yourself?
Very well, thank you. I hope you're good and that, it's almost December. We are going straight into it.
I'm already in December.
Okay.
But thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming through. Truly appreciate it. Let's start off with who Thato is for people who do not know you.
Thato Ramaili, Nielwate. I'm an ordinary girl from Mangaung in the Free State. I'm doing extraordinary things in the landscape, in the property sector of South Africa. I'm a mom. I'm a daughter to a Zulu queen and a Mosotho father. I'm a wife. I'm a sister, and I am a transformation soldier in our industry. That's who Thato is.
And we'll get to that transformation soldier bit, right? But let's talk about your upbringing in the Free State. Having a Zulu mom and a Mosotho dad. How was that like, and what was the upbringing like for you in the Free State?
It was incredible. I really have to say that I had a really good upbringing. Bloem is small, and I grew up with my sister, but I was actually raised by my grandmother, and I really had a good life. I went to a school called Brebna. If you're from Bloem, you know where Brebna is. Yes, and I had a really, I think I had a full and colorful teenage hood life and all that stuff. Yeah.
And so having the two languages at home, you were brought up, like you said, by your grandmother. But did you ever have the difficulties of the two languages?
No. Well, my mother came Zulu, but from the Free State, right? So I grew up speaking Sotho, and also being from Bloem, we've got our Bloem lingo, but predominantly Tswana, really. So I grew up speaking Tswana.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. So let's then speak about you going into school and what you wanted to be as a young girl.
I had a dream of being an accountant.
Okay.
And the reason is that in my accounting class, my accounting teacher was a lady called Mrs. Not Mrs. Swart,
Yeah.
At the front of the class, you saw. So from a young age, I knew that I'm going to be an accountant, a chartered accountant, and one day have my really accounting firm. But that didn't happen. I graduated from school. I was head girl, by the way, of my school. And part of the perks is that you get a Fulbright scholarship to study at KOFSI, which is the University of the Free State at the time, but you have to study medicine. Isn't that crazy?
Oh no. So they forced you to not
I said no. So when I graduated, I had to convince my dad to say, you know what, I'm going to go and take a gap year. So allow me to take a gap year in the US, then I'll come back and I'll come and be a medical doctor. So that was the agreement.
Okay.
But the joke was on me and probably him because I did not sit for a day in any medical class of whatever nature. So I didn't do that. I went to the States for my gap year, and that's when I started my accounting career, but also my love for property, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
Absolutely.
Yes, so I am a qualified accountant. I did try to go the CPA route, which is a certified public accountant route. I passed 3 out of the 4 modules, and I never became... Yeah, but I did climb up the ranks in the accounting world, in the corporate America world. But here I am, being a regulator of the real estate sector of South Africa.
It's such an important job that you do, but you can't just give us the tidbits of living in America and this is what you did.
Yeah.
Talk to us about living in America. What was that like for you? But also being able to study something that you have wanted to do for such a long time.
It was a dream. And I think growing up in the Free State, the first time I ever got a passport was not to go to Lesotho or Botswana or Swaziland. My first passport stamp was to go to the US. So, it was difficult being an international student in America. It's very expensive, but I knew that I had to graduate, and I had to graduate in record time. So living there as a student was really, really difficult. It's very expensive, but I got to live in one of the most beautiful states in the US, in California. You can't beat that. So I went to San Diego, but ultimately I graduated from the San Diego State University, from the Charles Lamden School of Accountancy. And then that's when really life began, because now you are a young professional, you are earning in dollars, and I got to travel, which I absolutely loved. Some of my best relationships and friendships are from my, experiences in the US and my connections there till this day. But it was a character building era, if you want to call it that, of my life. That's really who Thato became, who Thato is. So the grit that you see, the tenacity that you see, the professionalism really was planted in my years in the US.
Let's talk about what you mentioned, going to America, your first passport, and you get the stamp of you going out of the country.
As a teenager.
Yeah. Why did you choose America?
Well, as a little girl, you see Disney World, Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck. I'm sure we grew up watching, I'm sure you grew up watching that. And so it's always been the American dream, and I've always dared to be different. And I've always gravitated towards things that are challenging. Like I said, those are things that build character. So I reckoned, I wanted to go to UCT, study accounting, but obviously I said, let me go do my gap year. And I wanted to do it in America, and for the sole reason that when I was in high school, there is a lady by the name of, I'm sure I can say her name, Olivia Chapman. She was 2 grades ahead of me. Obviously, she was a white lady. She was head girl 2 years before me. She had gone, I think, to the UK as a gap year.
Okay.
She came back to South Africa, bought an Uno as a first car, and then went to study. So when I knew that I wanted to do a gap year, I went to the Yellow Pages at the time in Mangaung during the school holidays when we were waiting for our matric results.
Yes.
And I looked for all the Chapmans, and with our phone, I started calling every Chapman on that Yellow Book Pages up until I came to Olivia Chapman's residential place, or number rather, and she was available. And I said, Olivia, I want to take a gap year too. I want to go abroad. How did you do it? So she said, she gave me all the numbers of the institutions I should call, the visa process, because I didn't know what that looked like, what that was going to cost. And after that, gathering that information, doing that research, I then had a meeting with my mother and father, and I said, I'm going to America. This is how much it's going to cost. This is the program I'm going to, be on, and I'll be back in 12 months.
Wow.
So that was the work behind my trip to the US.
So your professionalism and formalities actually didn't really start in the United States, if you think about it. Just from what you said. You sat down with the folks and you're like, this is what it's going to look like for you. Where do you think you learned that? You learned how to be formal and to put things in order like that?
I don't want to say, I think from my grandmother, no. My dad was a businessman. Well, academically, he was a teacher, but he's one of the first people to register a business at CIPC.
Oh.
So he always had to conduct himself in a professional manner. And he also got to live abroad. He was a scorekeeper for the South African women's cricket team back in the day.
Okay.
So I think perhaps that's where it comes from. But also, so it can be innate, no? You can't be born like that.
I'm sure you can.
Yeah. So maybe, but also, going to predominantly white school, I think at the time, this is how you do things. And like I said, I was head girl of my high school. In primary school, I was the first Black deputy head girl in the history of my school. So there are things that, how to do things, the order of things. And perhaps that's where I could have harnessed that skill as well. I don't know. I never thought about it.
So you were in the US for how long?
A decade and a half.
Wow. After you settled back in 12 months.
Yes. Well, I did come during the time, but you know, like I said, going to the US institution, paying international fees was really exorbitant.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't come home often, but I ended up graduating and then working in corporate America for many, many years. Changed careers along the way, but yeah.
Let's talk about that change of careers. What happened?
Well, I always thought that being an accountant will make you rich.
I think that's what we are told.
Yeah. And I also got to learn, Seho, that you have to do something that you're passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
And then somebody said that you will never have to work a day in your life. And for accounting, unfortunately for me, it was a dream short-lived. I did not find it, I was not passionate about it. I was a number cruncher. I always become good at what I do because I'm diligent and I'll do anything to perfect my craft. But it didn't bring me joy. I didn't feel like I was touching lives or changing lives really. And when I relocated to South Africa, and maybe I'm jumping ahead, I obviously relocated. When I relocated, I still practiced in accounting. I was part of the team, the M&A team of the very first ever plant in South Africa from Iveco. We had a plant in Roslyn, Pretoria. And I think that's when I realized that accounting is not for me.
Okay.
Yes, I spent a lot of sleepless nights crunching numbers of financial statements that were not really mine. And at the time, I didn't know whether I wanted to stay in South Africa then or relocate back to the US. And my dad said, do something that you've always wanted to do. Mm-hmm. What is that? And I said, property. But then I also thought that being in the property space, I'm going to be a property guru, a real estate guru. Again, the joke was on me because I literally had to start from the bottom. So I entered the sector as a rookie, as an intern estate agent is what they called it, what has been over 11 years, so over a decade. So that's where I started. I resigned from my very good accounting job with Iveco at the time. It was in the automotive industry as well, and I think that's also what expedited my exit from that sector.
You weren't keen on the automotive industry?
No, it's an automotive industry. It was very male-dominated, very Afrikaner-dominated, and my counterparts and my direct line of report was based in Italy.
Oh.
It's a different culture. It was a different culture shock,
Mm-hmm.
A culture shock rather from, working in the US environment and then coming here. I'm in South Africa, but I'm working with Italians. No, it was not for me, not feminine. Mm-hmm. Again, I was not changing lives or doing really impactful things. Mm-hmm. So then I entered the real estate space. I went in as an intern, and my very first paycheck was 6,000 rands.
Wow.
Right?
After probably earning a whole lot more.
Yeah, a little bit more.
Okay.
And at the time, nobody knew that I wanted, I've resigned. My mother, my father didn't know. So my boyfriend, who's now my husband, we're the only two who knew that I've left an accounting job to go be an intern estate agent for an international real estate firm at the time. So I did that once again, but within 12 months, I was Rookie of the Year. So I said, I can really do this. The money was good. I met a whole lot of people who I am in contact with today. Some of them I am now regulating them as a sector. Mm-hmm. And I loved everything about the real estate space. The brick, the mortar, the people is lucrative, but also I learned earlier on that it was untransformed. And I knew that this is the space that I want to operate in for the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. But I thought that I will operate in it as a real estate agent, selling homes, renting homes, selling farms, selling hotels, which is what I did in my tenure. but definitely not as a regulator, as the one at the helm of the industry.
And we'll find out from you what exactly it is that you do, because I do want to take a quick step back to what you've shared with us now. Why property? What is it about property that has grabbed your attention so much over the years?
It is beautiful. Have you seen brick and mortar buildings? But also, just to take you back, when I was in the States, on Sundays, I'd go to church. After church, I'll go to gated communities. We call them really estates here at home. They call them gated communities, which was a fairly new concept then, about 16, 15 years ago in the US. And they sold the most incredible homes, obviously your NBA stars lived in those homes, your NFL, your football, what they call football there. So I'll just go and dream and look at these things, and I said, sure, one day I want to own this, and selling it will also be great. So that's really where the seed was planted. So for me, I thought, again, this is my ticket out of not poverty, because I didn't grow up poor, but into, success, whatever success I thought was at the time. Yeah, so that's why I chose property at the time. But I think after being in the space, it was fueled by other things, When I entered the space, I learned that there's not a lot of Black property owners in South Africa. And when you look at the demographics of our country, where majority is Black people, but we are not owning homes, we are renting. So my goal was, how do I get every client that I come across, how do I make sure that they are property owners at the end of our conversation or transaction? I came across a lot of tenants, and you'll ask them, most of my tenants were in the Midrand area. You couldn't be my tenant for more than 3 years. What are we doing? So how do we get to clean your profile, make sure that your profile looks attractive to banks, and that it makes your lending, credit worthiness. So that's, like I said, I thought it was fueled by buildings, but later on I'm like, it's just really my desire to help people and empower them to be homeowners. Yeah.
Where did that desire come from? Why do you love help? Because from what you've said and the conversation that we've had now already, you speak a lot about wanting to help people. You want to make a difference in people's lives. Where did that stem from? Where does that come from?
I think that's also innate, right? I think while we're living in one of the most lucrative countries in the world, I always say that I'm not quite sure why we're considered a third world country, because I've been to some first and second world countries that look nothing like South Africa. So I've always said that I think we should look like the land we occupy, and I think that's one of our strengths as a country. We've got land. And land and ownership is power. And how do I help our people get to that? And I think it just stems from really wanting us to look like the land we occupy. We are wealthy. We should look wealthy. And not wealthy, not only in monetary terms, but just leaving a legacy, which is something that I think as a people, and this is across the globe, Black people, we're always coming second, third, but why? If we have the minerals, if we've got the land, if we've got the assets, why can't we leave legacy for our children? We are always reinventing the wheel. And I still believe, that property is one of our tickets out of poverty for life. Generational wealth, for centuries to come.
From what you saw when you say, Black South Africans were not owning property, renting most of the time. Is that still the case now? Are you finding that things are changing?
Yes. The Lightstone report of the 2024-2025, so the end of 2024, and I think until June 2025, the number one property buyers in this country are female.
Amazing.
Black females, right? So we are buying properties as single women, but also even in joint bonds, we are there. So we are, the numbers have shifted. And for me, that is exciting because I said, we're getting there and not slowly getting there, rapidly. I'm getting there. So that's exciting. And I think that's why I do what I do.
So exciting.
Yeah.
So exciting for the country. So Thato, let's speak about education when it comes to property buying. And I suppose this is also why we are now seeing, more Black females buying property because there's a bit more information as to how this is how it should be done. This is the best route to go about it. But are you seeing that they are buying the property and perhaps just renting it out? And so it's women that are buying properties to rent out and not necessarily living in their own properties.
Well, for first-time home buyers, obviously it will be a property that, and it's mostly sectional title units, right? So we're talking anywhere between 850,000 to just over $1 million. So that's your first-time home buyers. That's your female buyers. So they're living to buy. But then we see that when they become, second-time property buyers, their first properties they don't dispose of. They keep. For rental income. Most of them at the time, they are almost at the tail end of paying off their properties. So now they're getting rental income, whilst now they're living in their mansions.
Dream homes.
Yeah. Yes. And like I said, most of them are doing it single. For me, I can't contain the excitement. Can you tell?
Yeah, I can tell. You're very happy about this.
Yes.
Very happy about it. But is it an education thing where we are now getting educated more about how to actually buy property and how to make money off buying property?
Yes. And I think it has happened over the years and also with not organizations, but entities like the PPRA. We are a regulator, but part of our mandate is to ensure that we protect consumers and also we provide education and training to both consumers as well as property practitioners. So you'd recall there was a time where we couldn't own or buy property. You couldn't own a title deed. But there are other stakeholders who are assisting us in educating just consumers, because people used to think that to own a property I must be rich. No. As long as you've got full-time employment as a start, you can produce 3 months pay slips, 3 months bank statements, just like you're buying a car. You can really own a property because there are 20-25 year terms in which you've got time to pay off a home loan, right? And again, a lot of people are doing it quicker, again through education, because if your bond is 10,000 rand but you're paying a little bit extra, that reduces your payment over the years. So yes, definitely I'd say consumer education has played a critical role in ensuring that women are empowered, or actually citizens are empowered.
That is Thato Ramaili. She, of course, is the CEO of the PPRA. I'm not going to try and say the full thing again. And she's chatting with us today on Conversations with Eminent Women. Let's now move into what she actually does as the CEO. Before you tell us what you do on a daily or maybe day to day, how did you get into PPRA?
Well, it was State ANC Affairs Board at the time. So when I was Rookie of the Year, remember?
Yes.
Earlier, you always had to have an FFC to operate. So which is a Fidelity Fund Certificate, which is a tool of trade. So that's how I want to believe that my journey with the regulator began, because they're regulating us. I had to pay my fees annually to make sure that I'm able to operate legally in the space.
So as an estate agent?
As an estate agent,
okay.
Yes. But now our mandate has broadened a great deal, which I'll talk about later. But I ended up there, to go and get my FFC every year. And then when I decided that I don't want to now just be a rookie or a candidate property practitioner, I've learned how to play the game. I then opened up a boutique real estate firm. So once again, I had to go back to the erstwhile Estate Agency Affairs Board to ask them, how do I open up a real estate firm? How can I open up my operate my own business? But then in 2021, I then got appointed to be on the board of the PPRA. So I was then a board member, which was a first for me because I was a player, literally on the ground, but then to be on the board and influence some of the decisions, the policies, and make sure that the entity runs efficiently and effectively, I was on that role. But then in my current role, I got appointed as acting CEO in 2023 in February, on the 1st of February, which was the first anniversary of now our legislation that governs us, the Property Practitioners Act. And then a year later, then I assumed the role of Chief Executive Officer on a not on a permanent basis. It's a 5-year term. So that's how I ended up there. And I think I've never said I wanted to be a CEO. I really think for me, it's really been a calling because, like I said, I started from the ground up. I got to be a role player in the sector. So for me, it's not what I'm doing now as a CEO is not hypothetical. So when I'm talking, the industry has to be effectively regulated. It's not hypothetical because I've been a player and I know what happens outside of the regulator as a property practitioner.
It's a big role.
Humongous role.
It's a big role.
And I'm short. I always say that I'm 5'1", but this role is really Kilimanjaro high. It is a big role.
So what do you do on a day-to-day as a regulator?
Well, we are a creature of statute. So everything that we do, like I just spoke about the Property Practitioners Act, it's got 77 sections. I can't do anything outside of that. I mean, amongst other legislation that we're governed by, but that's our core one. We fall under the Department of Human Settlements. So obviously from an NDP, we need to make sure that the mandate of the department as a whole is carried out. But for us as a regulator, our mandate rests on 3 pillars, which is to protect consumers, like I alluded to earlier. We are to regulate property practitioners throughout the sector. And also the big one, which is the core one, is to transform the property sector. And by regulating property practitioners, we've got now 12 subsectors under our regulatory fold. We used to, since 1976, we've just only been regulating real estate agents, but now we've got 11 other subsectors. So your homeowners associations, if you live within gated communities that I was speaking to earlier, managing agents. So those are the people that collect your levies and make sure that your rates and taxes are paid to the municipality. We regulate those. Your bond originators, your developers, timeshare, attorney employees, just to mention a few. That's who we regulate as the PPRA.
We say that this role is huge, right? How do you think you were able to get into this role and be comfortable?
I don't think I'm comfortable yet. It's still very uncomfortable till home. And I say this because the PPA, which is the Property Practitioners Act, came into being on the 1st of February 2022. So 45 years prior, we were doing a certain, we were regulating same group of people using the same legislation for 45 years. So obviously over time, I think the regulator or the board learned to perfect regulating that one subsector. So now everything is new. You've got new subsectors. So all those subsectors, we have to now develop educational standards for them. So new material. The organogram, so the employees that are supposed to now help in making sure that this mandate is implemented has changed. There's new provisions, so everything is new, right? So with newness comes discomfort. Discomfort from people who have been doing things a certain way for many years. So your employees, you've got stakeholders who you now need to say, no, this is not how we've been doing things. This is how we've been doing things, but now we need to do them differently because the law that governs us has changed. So that's different. And then also stakeholders of people saying, who are you? Who's this new child, if I can call it that? So hence I'm saying that there's no time to be comfortable because the wind of change is here, and we are challenging the status quo. With transformation, it's never been an easy task. Like I said, if you look at the demographics of our country and you look at the property practitioners, the numbers that we have, the race, gender does not match the demographics of our country. So that needs to change. And also just transforming from economically, so that the previously marginalized are also role players in the sector, and they participate in a meaningful way, in an economical way, So there's a lot of change going on, but it's exciting. And I get to be at the helm of that. So it comes with great responsibility. But when you ask how did I end up here, by merit, who else to regulate the sector but somebody who's coming from the sector. I look at ESCOM, when you look at the change that they've been able to do, if you look at the people on the board at ESCOM, if you look at people who are at the leadership position with that state-owned entity, you've got engineers, so people who know what kilowatts is. I mean, even the minister, I think it's Minister Hossein, so Ramoho, he comes from the field.
Yes.
And I've watched and I said, you can never make me go be a CEO of water affairs. What do I know, So I think that's why I have been entrusted with this very big role.
And I suppose that does make a huge difference, right? Coming from the field, understanding what actually happens and how things can be regulated. You spoke about the transformation, and you say transformation is not easy. How have you then been able to get into your role and to pull at those strings and make them, it's going to be uncomfortable for people that don't perhaps want the transformation to happen fully. How have you been able to get into your role and say, you know what, I'm the CEO here and this is how things are going to be done? Of course, you've got the backing of the act, though.
Yes, and that's what I was going to say, that when you've got an act, that's an enabler.
Yeah.
That's a plus. But enforcing it, you're not going to say, this is what the act says, do it. No, you're going to be challenged. The interpretation of some of the provisions of that act is also going to be challenged. Like, no, you're misinterpreting it. But also, Seho, you can't talk about transformation and you're not bold about it. So you have to be bold. You have to be unapologetic. But at the core and center of it all, you need to be intentional. When you're talking the pursuit of transformation, it's something that every day I'm saying, how are we shifting the needle? I look at the numbers. In our instance, I say how many Black principals you have in the sector. Does that match the number of our counterparts? So it's intentional, really, at the pursuit of transformation. And that's how I've been able to stay on it. You have to stay on it up until a time we wake up and we see different faces of who are your players in the landscape of the property sector.
What challenges have you faced going into real estate and now becoming the CEO that you have had to remind yourself why you are doing what you do?
The biggest one, and I just like transformation, until we don't see it, I will continue seeing it. The barriers of entry. One of the biggest ones as a real estate agent myself at the time, there were estates here in Midrand that I couldn't sell in, because in order for you to sell in them, you need to pay 30,000 Rand a year so that you can be able to lease a home, sell a home, do a property assessment. Where would a little old Thato get 30,000 Rand a year? And remember, 30,000 Rand that you pay, it doesn't guarantee you a sale. It doesn't guarantee you a sole mandate or a dual mandate for that matter. It's just so that you can get in the door. So that's always been a barrier. And right now, there is a matter that is up sub judice, where we are challenging that one aspect of some of the barriers of entry in our sector. But once again, that one is legislated. So I'm hoping that we go to court soon. We filed our answering affidavits to say that it is an untransformative, it's untransformative, it is an undesirable practice, and it needs to be done away with. And so for me, that will be one barrier down. And then the next barrier that I always hear practitioners talk about is just compliance. Like I said, we're a creature of statute. So if you are a property practitioner, there are certain things that you ought to do, i.e., if you've got your own business, you need to make sure that you are compliant in terms of filing your audit reports on time. But to file an audit report, Thato, means that you need to now bring in an auditor, an accountant, to compile those financials before you submit it to us. That's expensive. That is a barrier, but one that we can't, cannot enforce because, again, it's legislated. So those are the two that I can share with you right now. But there's several, just also being a black property practitioner, especially if you're going off on your own and you don't have a brand backing, you are saying you are Thato, you own Thato's properties, and now you want to go sell in Houghton. They're going to look at you and say, Thato, what have you done? We don't know this brand, So that's also, you see, the barrier. Up until such a time that Thato is now a nationally recognized brand, there's still areas that is difficult for you to play in. Not impossible, but you need to go and really oversell yourself and say, you know what, I can sell your property because I've sold one in Stain City for the same price. Sure. You see, I'm capable, So we are constantly selling, and this is now at a practitioner level.
What do you think real estate agents are getting wrong when they sell property?
Sure. I don't think we're actually getting a lot of things right.
Okay.
Especially the ones that have a license to operate. So if you're at Thato, you've been operating in Gauteng for the last 10 years, you are compliant, the code of conduct of how you're supposed to conduct yourself as a real estate property practitioner. You've got our teachings, you are compliant with the PPRA, you've got a experience under your belt. You're getting a lot of things right because you can go into a place, make a fair assessment of a property. You are professional, you conduct yourself in a professional manner. You are fine. But then you've got the unscrupulous real estate agents. They're not registered with us. They are fly-by-nights. They come to people and purport to be property practitioners. They take your 100,000 Rand deposit and then they flee. When it comes out, consumers say, real estate property practitioners are rogue, don't trust them. So I think we're not getting it wrong as property practitioners, but those who are purporting to be us are the ones who are putting a bad name for us.
How then to be as citizens, those that, if you want to buy a property, how do I make sure that the person who's selling me that property, that practitioner, the real estate practitioner, is legit?
Yes. So when you ask them, say, before we transact, are you registered with the PPRA? That should be your point of departure before you even sign anything. They'll give you an FFC number, which is a 7-digit unique number to that practitioner. You can go on our website and then check. We verify a property practitioner and it'll say whether they're in good standing, they've got a valid FFC or not. You can even call our line and ask us before anything, whether our call center, then we'll be able to confirm that yes, this person is legit, you can do business with them. And that I can't stress enough. And the benefit of that, Thato, is that once you transact with this licensed property practitioner and the transaction goes sour in whatever way, and you feel that this person needs to be held accountable, they need to be reported, you want recourse as a consumer, you can come to us, lodge a complaint, and we're able to follow it through. But if they're not registered with us, there's absolutely nothing that we can do.
Sure.
So that is really important. It's just like, going to a medical doctor. You need to make sure that they've got the license to operate, so that if something was to happen to you, you can sue them for medical negligence. But if you went to somebody who's a doctor in their bedroom, and they cut your finger, how are you going to get recourse?
Yeah.
Then you need to go the long route, you need to go to SAPS. So I think it's always important, and that's one message that as a regulator we've been pushing through, especially anywhere I talk in any forum, I always make sure, emphasize the fact that you need to make sure that you transact with a practitioner that is licensed with us.
And I mean, it's easy. Just ask them.
Yes.
Are you
Yes.
registered?
Yes.
Do you get a lot of complaints from people whose deals go south?
Lots. 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 One that is heartbreaking for me, there is a property practitioner who had used to have an FFC with us, but they didn't report to their clients. So people have come, pay deposits into a trust account, and this practitioner has ate the money. They've spent clients' money. A trust account is exactly that. It is, you are entrusted with monies that are not yours, but you're supposed to keep them in this account, and then he's used them. So right now, there's claims that we are, just this week, that we are considering. And for those that transacted with this practitioner whilst he didn't have a valid FFC, we can't assist them. For those that transacted with him when he had a valid FFC, we are looking into those. But obviously there's going to be a disciplinary process, and then we're going to see how we can recoup the funds from him, so that we are able to supplement our fidelity fund, because it's if you've got a fidelity fund, which is like an insurance for such cases, if people are claiming and we are not replenishing it, it's going to run out, right? We do get lots. Some of them don't fall within our purview. There's also the Rental Housing Tribunal, for example, that some matters go there. And then some matters fall under CSOS, which is our sister entity, but they deal more with disputes between homeowners and homeowners associations. So if people are not getting along there, you want to slaughter a cow, for example, it's a funeral and your neighbors are refusing, we get those complaints, but then we redirect them to our sister entity as well.
So with the complaints, and if somebody has done wrong, a property practitioner, if they've done wrong, I come to you, I complain. What happens? You spoke about the disciplinary process, but how is it possible to, put this person on like a blacklist of some sort, that they don't try and sell property again?
Yes, so we've got the powers to revoke the FFC, which is the Fidelity Fund Certificate. So meaning that they can practice. And if you don't have it and you maybe sell a home, a conveyancer is not supposed to then pay you your commission or professional fee if at the time you close that deal you didn't have an FFC. There's some who've been arrested, so there are people behind bars for doing unethical things, stealing people's money. This said practitioner, there's another complaint where they were embezzled R1 million. Yes, so they had to go open up an SAPS case. They laid charges, so that person is now waiting his trial so that he can come and claim his innocence. So that happens. Some of them is just, it will be, I didn't know, and then obviously, and one thing that I have to emphasize, so when you come to us and lodge a complaint, we don't just listen to you and take it as the Bible truth. We need to give the respondent a right to reply. We then investigate, and then we say, you know what, there can be a mediation, or there's no mediation. This person now has to go through a DC process, and then the chairperson of that DC then will give the verdict, kind of like a court. But we do it obviously internally, and it's free of charge obviously for the consumers, and then the outcome or the verdict of that then will need to be implemented. So that's some of the measures that we take.
And when we speak property, in your visioning as the CEO of the PPRA, long term, what would you like to see change in South Africa?
Property, I want to see more representation. Obviously, young people. So if you look at I think our average age of who a property practitioner is currently is almost 60. I think 56 or 57.
Sure.
Yes. But who's buying? Women who are youth. So first-time home buyers are black women under the age of 35, but they're being serviced by somebody who's 57, 58. So for me, I'd like to see more young people in our sector, more PDIs, your previously disadvantaged individuals in the sector. I want to see people who are servicing you for them to be property owners, right? Currently, our sector is commission based. So commission. So I wanted us to get to a point where it is a career of choice. And that one, I think I'll be able to see in my tenure here, where we are going into high schools. We've partnered with institutions of higher learnings and TVET colleges to say property studies must be introduced at undergrad level, not at postgrad and master's level, at undergrad. So people, when they leave high school, they know that I want to be a property practitioner. That's what I want to do. And that's what we're working on, so that it can also be a very respectable career, like your doctors, your attorneys, advocates, engineers. We are dealing with the most valuable possession of any citizen of the country. Some of them are the most lucrative. And some property practitioners make way much more money than what a doctor would ever make. So we need to make sure that we make them at that level and professionalize the sector. So that's a dream of mine.
They say the higher you go, the colder it gets, and the lonelier it gets. Who's your support?
Sure. I've got destiny helpers in this journey. It's certainly one role that I can't do as Thato alone because I don't know it all. So there are people that I go to, my family for one. My husband has been incredibly supportive. And also people who know, I always say surround yourself with people who know more than you do. People who will make you, your blind spots. So I call them my destiny helpers because I would certainly not do it alone because it is a very, like you said, a very lonely role. Yeah.
And that loneliness, how do you deal with it? You speak about your destiny helpers, but when I ask Thato, how do you deal with what may seem like an extremely lonely role being a CEO?
Sure. I can do this better. I allow time off.
Okay.
Just to go and regroup, self-introspect, and take care of me. So that I can, when I go out into the world, go out into this world role. And I always say that it's a very thankless job that I do. So sometimes I have to go and lick my wounds in private and regain my strength so that I can go and face the world. Yeah.
Okay. What do you do to relax when you've had a stressful day?
Oh, you know what, my son? I said, what is mommy like? I think 3 weeks ago, his first response was like, mommy loves massages, flowers. So I make sure that I am always at the massage parlor, really. I love hiking. I wish I could do it more often. I used to, before I assumed this role, I used to hike every Saturday for 11, 18 kilometers at a time. I absolutely love it. So that's what I do to relax. And also sleep is good.
Absolutely.
I love,
Absolutely.
It's been rainy the last couple of days.
Yeah.
My favorite part, because then all appointments can be cancelled over the weekend. and I just don't leave my bed.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I do to relax. I think it's important.
Mm-hmm. I don't like the word juggle, but how do you think you've been able to manage it all? As a mom, as a sister, as a daughter, as a wife, as a CEO. How do you think you've managed to manage it all?
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not managing it at all. There are seasons where being a mom will take priority. So, for example, this year, the beginning of the year, the first quarter, my son was in first grade. So this was new for me, for him, for our family. So I had to make sure that I prioritize that. So that meant being a wife had to take
a bit of a step back.
Yes, you can't take off from being a CEO, but I had to prioritize. And then there will be seasons, this year in particular, where being a CEO, we had to move the needle. We have to shift the needle. So that means certain aspects had to, take a back seat. But I'm glad you said you don't like using the word juggle. So I make sure that, when it's my husband's birthday, those days, he takes priority. So if you're calling me for a meeting, it's our birthday week, hour, so then that will have to take priority. And I think that's how I've been able to use your word, try to manage it.
Do you think you've been able to also set strong boundaries, especially, as a CEO, you are wanted left, right, and center.
Yeah.
Have you been able to set those boundaries?
Now this year, I've introduced that.
Okay.
So a funny story. 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago, in 2023, I went to a radio station, and at the radio station, I gave my number. My cell phone number.
Personal.
To a radio station where there were millions of listeners on the day. And so till today, if somebody tries to email my office and they don't get a response for whatever reason, they WhatsApp me. And we've got over 50,000 property practitioners currently on our database. All of them have my number. But now I've learned to say, to delegate, and to say, no, I go through the right channels. But for the last, I think it's safe to say, 24 months into this role, I was easily accessible. And I also think that's important. Yes, you can't be sitting here at the top. And I'm also a very hands-on somebody. So if somebody doesn't want to do it, I'll do it. So I don't lead from the front, or I lead right from the center. When we are digging and getting our hands dirty, I'm right there with you. So that's something that I should have learned. I think you set boundaries at the beginning.
Yes.
But now I've introduced them, in a very palatable manner, because it's also it's in my nature. And I think that's why I was a really thriving property practitioner. You can't be in the space and not be a people's person. That's the number one character trait you have to have amongst others. So I can't change that about myself.
After 5 years, if you aren't the CEO again after 5 years, right, of the PPRA, what kind of leadership or leader would you like to be described as?
Transformative leader.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. And one that led with her heart. I don't see it as a weakness. I actually see it as a strength. There's not a lot of leaders who lead from here, and I do.
And what legacy are you hoping to leave behind for your son?
Property.
Of course.
No, just what, I don't know if I read it or I heard it somewhere, that when kids grow up, they won't remember that what you bought them. They'll remember that you were at their first soccer game. You are there at their first recital. And in the midst of all, that's a legacy of sweet memories. That's what I want to leave for him. He knows that mommy is a CEO in Sentin, but those things don't matter. When he fell, Oh, he lost his two teeth 2 weeks ago. I'm the one, I was a tooth fairy, you know? So those are things, I want to be there for those moments, and I want him to know that, mommy was present, was a present mom.
For the young people, like you say, you've partnered with TVET colleges, with high institutions of learning that want to become property practitioners. What would you say to them?
They must. I really, and I said it's not about brick and mortar. When you give, I think the slogan of our Department of Human Settlers is that it's housing the nation, but when you give somebody property, you give them dignity. That's huge. So what other job can you say that you're giving people dignity? Do you know what I mean? If you're a scientist, yes, maybe you've developed a cure for cancer. I get it, it's important. But giving somebody shelter, a legacy, that's a legacy, that you leave. So for me, I think we to be a property practitioner is one of the most important jobs. And what people also don't know, as a property practitioner, you are also a psychologist. When we deal with people who are transacting or coming to the property space because they've got debt, people die, so we do a lot of deceased estates, and then we also do divorces. So the 3Ds. So when you're going through a divorce or somebody has lost their parents and they have to sell a family home, you are a psychologist, you're a psychiatrist, you are a financial expert, because you need to, so we wear so many hats, and so we're not just we're not just transactors. We do so much more. Some people cry, like I don't know how many, and that's why a lot of my old clients are still in my life today, because there's moments that we've shared in their journeys or seasons of their lives that only I know of, but we were there. So we really play an important role in society, and I think that it is a career that is attractive, and it is also lucrative, and allows you to change lives in the process.
You've got 5 years as the CEO. More?
No. Well, no.
15.
No, I've done in March, it will be 2 years. So that means I have 3 years
You've got 3 more years
left in my tenure, yes.
What happens after that? What are the plans that you have?
One thing I'll tell you is that I'll always be a role player in the sector until I'll be 100, and there'll be a role that I play in the property landscape.
Okay.
Yeah.
Keeping the mouth man.
Yeah, because I still have a lot of work to do.
Yes.
Where I am, so I can say, in 5 years' time, yeah, but I'll definitely still be in the space.
Okay.
So watch this space.
Watch it indeed. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Such a lovely conversation.
Yes.
Thato Ramaili speaking to us, of course, about her role as the CEO of the PPRA, and also what you need to know about being a property practitioner. I hope this has been informative. Remember to comment, like, and to subscribe to Conversations with Eminent Women. From myself, Tsafaha Jomoachi, let's talk again next time. Remember, wherever you go, whoever you encounter, just be kind and protect your peace. Bye-bye.